the 4NU's 4N movement. No sex with men, no marriage with men, no dating with men, and no children. Men understand behavior and consequences, not words and arguments, with inspiration from South Korea's 4B movement by Drude Evie. So today, this isn't, I guess it is a little adventures on Twitter. It's also adventures on Reddit. At least specifically adventures on what certain Redditors think from certain Reddit sub-communities like 2X. And Reddit's sort of like Twitter. No, actually it's nothing like Twitter. It's even more like the child of Satan and Cthulhu. So be it as it may, because it actually encourages even more insular subcultures that have no relationship to reality. But today, we are going to be talking about this lovely lady's proposal to have what is functionally a sex strike in response to the recent election results in the U.S. And I'm not going to get too much into it. I'm going to get into the mechanics of this proposed sex strike and why it is completely useless, because you just don't have the leverage that you think you do. Women who are interested in this, because I don't want to implicate all women. Not all women are involved in let's say the politics of grievance that this individual is presenting. So don't implicate all women, but the women who are proposing this sex strike are part of a particular demographic. And let's just say they don't have the leverage they think they do. And you might be already presupposing what I'm going to say. And it's not that. It's not that kind of leverage. But I will get into it. So welcome. My name is Allison. And these are my adventures on Zitter usually, but now also Reddit. Oh boy. Okay, so recently, a very controversial presidential candidate won the U.S. elections. And it's become pretty obvious that one of the reasons why he won is because men voted for him. In particular, Latino men, and possibly also black men, but to a lesser degree. And of course, the usual suspects are losing their shit because they have constructed a threat narrative in which this particular candidate is going to strip women's right to abort their children. And that seems to be the only plank in the platform that these individual women care about. Nothing else. I mean, presumably if you don't have the economy or the infrastructure that can support abortion, you will equally not be able to access them. But that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. Not relevant. All that matters is that that issue. So anyway, many women voted on this issue, but unfortunately, this particular controversial candidate got in because men supported him more. Which is, in my opinion, good to see. It's good to see that men are starting to recognize that they aren't going to get their issues addressed unless they get out to the polls and make their voices heard. And one of those issues is being able to take part in a productive economy in which they can afford to do anything. Let's just face it. So, I mean, that's one of the planks of the platform of the winner. And men went out and voted based on that. And probably, most likely, this is my own particular theory, but I think that men who would have voted more on the left stayed home. And part of the reason why is because the left offers them nothing. But of course, women on the left want to offer them even less than nothing. And they think that is a plausible strategy for them. And like I said, I'm not gonna get into the specific politics. I want to keep it nonpartisan. I'm about the relationship between men and women and pointing out the ridiculousness of certain aspects of it, shall we say. So this individual, Drude Evie, that's what she said. She proposes the four no's. Four no's, US 4N movement. No sex with men, no marriage with men, no dating men, and no children. And presumably that is in order to manipulate the men's vote into just voting these specific women's interests. And I'm saying these specific women's interests because a significant number of women did vote for the right, for Trump. So these specific interests, these women's specific interests, and they feel like pursuing a sex strike is what's going to get them there, going to be able to put their thumb screws to men. Unfortunately, there are some logistical realities that they're not considering, which we will now go over. I actually, because Twitter is my playground, not playground, battlefield, I actually took this comment on Reddit and tweeted it out with the following. Guys, quick, you have to go unvote. The women who only have recreational sex at the top 5% of men on Twitter are going to stop having sex with them. That'll really show all the rest of you men what's what. Now, before anybody gets me on my case about this, I am not saying that this is the behavior of all women. I am saying this is the behavior of women on the left who would propose a sex strike. So why don't we just look at why this is absolutely ridiculous? Right? And then I'll make some commentary on why I think that the election played out in the way that it did. I do want to add an additional comment. This is from Mumu Chu. Time for 4 years of celibacy. Ladies, get off the dating apps. No more sex, no more pregnancies. The vow of celibacy starts now. Drop your partner if they can't respect your celibacy. Keep interactions with men to a bare minimum. Ignore them online. They no longer get access to us until they can prove they are capable of caring about our basic rights. Health and safety. The good men failed us by letting the bad men proliferate. Wouldn't the people responsible for the bad men be the ones reproducing with them? Okay, never mind. They all have to be punished in a way that they can understand. American men need to fix their fellow man. Let them suck the poison out of each other. It's a vivid image. We have the power to shun them. We have a right to defend ourselves. Men are not safe. It's time to fight back. Let's hit them. And of course, this is all in the context of men apparently voting for their own interests, making them bad allies to women because they aren't voting on this one very specific policy issue, and they're voting more in line with what they hope will revive the economy. But regardless, I don't think this is going to work again, and I'm going to go through it. In fact, let me just stop beating around the bush. And let's just go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to explain. Using my drawing skills. I actually can draw, but using my ability to conceptualize visually, I am going to explain why this is it's a non-starter. It's dead out of the gate. All right, to the drawing board, to the whiteboard. Here we are in the anatomy, or inside the sex strike. All right, so let's start with our rogues gallery. We have the top 5% of men who are involved in online dating. We have the bottom 95% of men who are rapidly becoming disillusioned with online dating. We have the Becky, this is the Stacy, who is the extremely attractive woman. She's probably not going to get a lot of play in here because generally she's screwed by this entire situation. Then we have the average woman. And finally, we have the woman who is going to engage in using her sexuality to get her political will enacted. She's definitely a character. She's sort of a unique individual. One might consider this to be sort of abusive, to use your sexuality as a carrot and withholding intimacy in order to get your partner to comply with things they otherwise wouldn't be interested in doing. But be that as it may, she has declared her intentions in the dating landscape, and that is to use her sexuality to enforce adherence to particular party, the progressive liberal democratic party. All right. Unfortunately, her intentions in all of this are not going to bear fruit. And we will explain why shortly. Well, right now, because this is the time of the explaining. All right. So here we'll put her over down here. All right. And we will put him over here. And we will put him over here. Now, the reason why we're just putting these three actors into play is because she probably already has a partner. She's already voting in opposition to her. This is probably the person that this woman really needs to actually convince. And she's probably pretty happy with how this dude has voted. Let me get top 5% dude back on the. Here we go. Got to move him up. A little difficult. I have to look through the viewfinder to see what's going on. And her, as usual, she's just shit out of luck. Because normally she would be using her sexuality to get herself him. But unfortunately now she's not just competing against other top 5% women. She's also competing against the harem that he can acquire in the current marketplace. I mean, it's, you might be a 10 woman. It's really hard to compete against a harem of 10 women who are 6 to 8, even when you're a perfect 10. So she's just out here. Maybe she's doing OnlyFans. I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to our sex strike. All right, let's move this one on. Okay. Oop, got to move this back up. All right. Is everybody in place? Okay. So these are the lines that indicate who this woman is currently having sex with. Now, she's probably not having sex with the top 5%, but close enough. Maybe we can have him represent the top 20%, because she's essentially having recreational sex via apps, which her particular ideology is driving everyone towards by basically criminalizing in real life interactions between men and women. And she's already just having sex with this dude, or the equivalent that she can access, right? She is not actually engaging in any sexual activity with the bottom 95, 90, 20, or 80% of men. Like, this guy's invisible to her. She doesn't exist. And he knows that, this isn't going to happen, right? And I don't mean to make this look really ugly. Maybe she isn't. She's ugly in spirit, but she might not be physically ugly. So anybody who's like, oh yeah, you're saying that these magenta-haired women, they could never... No, I'm sure that some of them are quite attractive, and they definitely could get their pick of the litter, shall we say. It's just that they're still people who use their sexuality to enact their political will, which is... It's definitely an interesting form of gross. So anyway, so she's already, like, before the Trumpageddon, she was already only really sexually accessible to the top, 20% of men. Okay. All right. These guys don't care. Like, they know that she's going to still have sex with them regardless of their political opinions. These guys, she's already not having sex with them. So they don't care either. Like, all of these women who are saying, oh, hey, we're going to stop having sex with men. Yeah, well, first of all, you're probably one of, a couple dozen women who's with these guys. I mean, look at it. Look at these ratios here. This is 1 to 20 to 1 to 4. Okay? When you create an environment in which you have the bargaining power, you've now taken, like, originally, if we paired up 1 to 1, you would have bargaining power over the one you paired with, right? And if there was a bunch of you, you would have bargaining power over all of the ones you paired with. But that's gone. Now all you have bargaining power over is a man who you share with 4 to 20 other women. So what? I mean, and also you're only 30% of women. So if you disappear on him, he loses one partner. If he's in the top 20%, he loses, let's see, not great at math. He loses about 14, or he still has 14. So he has about 6. He loses about 6 partners out of 20. right? That's what you represent, because you don't have any interest in developing a relationship to men. You don't have any interest in actually appealing to men. Like, you don't have any interest in marriage because with the average dude. So you now have zero influence over the average dude. Welcome to the world of zero influence over the average dude. Ladies, welcome. And of course, this woman probably is already voting in line with this dude. So they're just going to go off. Whoop, whoop. They're going to go off. They're going to maybe form a family with the affordable groceries and more money in their pocket. She's going to still be shit out of luck. He's going to still be getting plenty of strange, even without you. And you're going to be over here doing nothing at all. All right, there we go. What makes the logistics of this sex strike ridiculous is the same thing that I believe is causing this shift in voting patterns to begin with. Men are now realizing that there probably isn't a woman in it for them. So the participation in this society isn't going to make them more attractive to a woman unless they win the lottery or just win it big or they got the right connections. So there's a significant amount of men who've just opted out. They're just opting out. And now they don't have to really worry about women's opinion when they go and vote, because it's not on the table. And that's the ultimate reality when you pursue this kind of behavior and this kind of philosophy and ideology. And it's more than just not, they aren't going to have a submissive wife who's going to make their food and darn their socks and have sex with them. That's not the issue. The real issue, and this is why the sex strike is probably not going to work, the real issue is it's not about sex. It's about the social and sexual desirability, respect, and love. And right now, American women, at least the ones who are going and projecting their voices, because I know there's a lot of people who are just getting on with their lives, they're in relationships, they're in loving relationships, they're supporting each other. Yeah, fair enough. But the women who are on the internet talking about these things are overwhelmingly anti-male. And if they're not completely anti-male, then they still regard men as a poor choice as sexual partners. They don't pull their weight in the home. They don't make enough money. They aren't good looking enough. They don't twiggle your tigs or whatever. This is the overwhelming message. And also that men approaching women in public is unwanted. So it's like the women are giving the vast impression that sexual and social desirability, especially left women, sexual and social desirability is not on the table. It's not on offer. It's not in the marketplace. Men are not going to find it. And love and respect are not going to be found. And apparently now, I think the number is 70% of men have turned away from dating and interactions with women. I mean, they're just given up. It's not on offer, but that means they're also not manipulated by wanting to go out and get it from women, because they know that they're not going to. And like I said, the fatal flaw of all of this is misunderstanding what men want. Yes, all people want sex. They want sexual intimacy. They want to be able to express their intimacy physically. But what men want, in my opinion, from my vast observation or 20 years of observing, is social and sexual desirability. So they want to feel socially desirable. That means that they have gratitude for what they do, that they are recognized as being sacrificial and benefiting others. And then they want sexual desirability. They want to feel like their woman really wants them, not just settled for them, but is, gagging for them, right, sexually. And they want to be respected as men, which goes back to the social desirability, just great gratitude. If you expect a man to lead, then submit. If you, or just respect him and his abilities and what he brings to the relationship, trust that he has your best interests in mind, that kind of stuff. So, and also love, just basic love. And men are recognizing that it's not going to happen. Even if they get a woman Are they going to get those things? And the more you see the vast popularity of Shira as a manifestel, the more men are realizing, hey, maybe that's not on offer. Like maybe I can get somebody who'll use me for my resources, but she's not going to desire me physically. She's not going to regard me with any kind of respect. And she's not going to love me. And if I don't get those things, what's in it for me? But because I think there's this greater realization, men are now they don't longer care as much about what women's opinions on, well, they no longer care to make the sacrifices that they used to make because they thought women would respect them for it. So now they're more likely to vote in their own interests, which incidentally are not antithetical to women's interests, because men aren't being seduced by this leftist threat narrative. And I've described it like a threat narrative is constructing this enemy, right, that you need to defeat, and that you're constantly being judged about your moral relationship to this enemy. And you overinflate women's vulnerability. You overinflate men's agency and their willingness to harm women. And then you construct this hard, cultish group of women who are terrified of men. Well, you guys were never going to give men love, respect, or desire, right? You were never going to give an average man love, respect, or desire. You were only ever going to cast him in the role of a villain or convenient, not an ally, because an ally is two-way, convenient servant. So, and they're recognizing that. And they're also maybe recognizing that there are women out there that won't do that. So sex strike is ridiculous. You fundamentally misunderstand men. You are making it very clear that what men want isn't on offer anywhere. And also, the people who are doing that, the left-leaning women who are doing this, are pushing all human interaction online by promoting the criminalization of men talking to women. So that pushes everything through these very dysfunctional dating apps, which makes everything worse. You know, like on a dating app, you're pushing all human interaction into this harem model by pushing it into the dating apps. And honestly, the dating apps have terrible track record. I heard statistically only 1 in 10 relationships is started on a dating app. That's a terrible record for something that basically is for many people, it's their only social romantic outlet. So, but feminism is pushing everything to that, everything to the model that I just showed. And that model is functionally reducing women's political influence with men. Okay, so we're going to see more of this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this installment of my, well, not Zitter adventures, but internet adventures. And have a lovely morning, afternoon, second brunch, whatever you're doing. And thank you for your kind attention.